Howdy, folks. DaveMan here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, I wish I could tell you the hell that I've gone through over the past 3 days trying to produce a video that I wasn't quite happy with the results once I recorded it. Most of the time when I do these things, I just speak from the heart. I speak from what I know to be true, from the countless hours of research or thinking about, talking, discussing, debating over specific subject matter. So those kind of things I can just roll off the tongue, and usually I can make a decent video or have a decent conversation with anyone that I meet because I'm very comfortable with that information. But earlier today I was going to include some things that I had to do a little bit more picking and prodding to try to say it in the right way, because I'm not a psychologist. I don't try to pretend that I'm a psychologist, although I do understand a lot of what psychology teaches. Now, that's to say that because you can read a textbook like anybody else, that means you're an expert. No. I don't consider myself an expert in just about anything. But I do believe that we all have the same abilities to research, to report, to discuss, to talk about, to have discourse over things that we know to be true. And I have to reiterate that. The things that we know to be true. Because when you know something is true, you have no problems regurgitating it, speaking it, volume by volume. I am so impressed. Although, like I said, I don't want to go there, but I am so impressed with evangelical, these younger kids that can quote major passages of the Bible. I mean, chapters and chapters of the stuff, almost like a brute memorization. It blows my mind that people can do that kind of stuff because they believe and they know in it so much that it becomes kind of like who it is that they are. But when you know something, getting off the track there a little bit, but when you know something, and I do apologize if my nose clogs up, pollen in Florida is just insane. But when you know something, you have no problems thinking about it. You can just go and just talk about it, right? But when there's something that is maybe not in your wheelhouse per se, or you're very concerned about making sure that you use the proper nomenclature or you use the proper conversation because you don't want to upset the apple cart of the people in those groups or in that, category that you're discussing. I always try to do that with, white cotton gloves, because I'm not really here to try to piss off anybody. I'm here to get people to think. And something has happened in our culture, and I think it was called the era of stupidity. And it's still going on at a sub-level to a degree, but I think more people are trying to embrace themselves with as much knowledge as they can get their hands on. They're thirsty for it if you're willing to teach them the truth. This has been the biggest problem we've had in the United States, and I'm sure disseminated throughout the world, because I truly believe, and this is just my belief, that approximately 70 to 75% of the population are basically just walking around, obeying the programs that have been put into place, never questioning, thinking, or asking questions about those specific things on a regular basis. They're not walking around thinking. They're not walking around to the point where they're getting their heads sore from having just a really unstimulating conversation about nothing with a guy at work, because you really want to talk about the stuff that matters, stuff that, what is this? What's the shape of the earth? And what is God real? And, how the hell are we even doing this or having this conversation right now? And did I reincarnate? Most people don't want to have those conversations. You bring those conversations up with them and they go, this guy's a weirdo. And boom. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm the weirdo. I'm the guy who wants to have the conversations that I believe matter. But my belief is majority of the population, even though they are awake and they're going around, they're doing things and they're successful and they're playing the game, this big old game that I like to call it, they play it very well. They work within the confines of the rules. Many do, most do. But there are a lot of the people that we're going to get to that don't play by the rules and basically have the game set up. So you're basically playing their game. Yeah, they don't play necessarily by the rules. But ultimately, the people that are engaged in this place, the 75% that run the programs, play the programs, are good at the programs, they rise, fall. Those people, no problem. They're doing better than the other 25% that don't like this system at all and are constantly asking questions about it. It doesn't make sense to people like me and to many of the people I try to communicate with. I've always said that it's very important to have your mind stimulated by the people or things that interest you, because otherwise your life is going to become an absolute blur and bore. You have to be around the things you love, otherwise it ain't gonna fucking matter. But needless to say, this game I speak about, now that is going to be the crux of the conversation that we have today. And yes, I had to cut the video real quick because I couldn't remember where I wanted to go with this. But needless to say, this is Gonzo. This is how we operate here. But this game that I talk about, like I was saying at the beginning of this, there's this 75%, in my opinion, of a population that is constantly running the programs and is good at playing the programs on here. But there's this other 25% that is constantly thinking, constantly analyzing, constantly thinking about what's going on here. And to the most of the population, we never really get to have those stimulating conversations, or people are just afraid to have them. And if you ever want to know what their opinion is, they will usually go to whatever the consensus of the groups that they're in's opinion is, and that becomes their opinion. And look, I would say this is very common amongst people who are ignorant in certain areas of topic matter, but are very intelligent for the most part, or consider themselves fairly intelligent. It's really weird. Intelligence is one of those things where if you are a very intelligent person, usually you're more of a self-critique. You're always constantly questioning, and then the people that usually are dumb in those subject matters are very, very confident. It's really weird. I don't know. At least that's been my experience. It's like when you get into these weird conversations with people, when you know what you're talking about, but that person really doesn't know what they're talking about, but yet they speak with such confidence, and they're trying to get people in the room to judge their side, and usually they take pretty much the consensus route or the comfortable route. It's really weird having debates with people like that, because they don't know what they're talking about, but yet they'll continue to keep pushing up, because their whole goal is just to win the argument. It's not about being right. It's just about being right themselves. They want to be right. But it's just weird, the conversations we have. But getting off the matter again, there's a game that is going on all around us. And, it took me a very, very long time to realize that I was just participating in the game that was set up for me, okay? And it started from the time I was born, pretty much. And again, I want you to really think about what it is I'm talking about here, because from the moment you're born, you're basically, and I've spoken about this before, that you're given a set of programs, and these programs kind of carry themselves out throughout your life, and you more or less either change the program because you don't like it, or you kind of just adopt the programs. And most people just kind of adopt them. They may add some things on here and there, but most of the time, they don't really question kind of what's going on here. They don't question the textbooks that they're given. They don't question the history they've been told. They don't question the government that's in place. They don't question anything. And that, in my opinion, is where we lose every single time. It's by asking questions. Look, like I was saying just a little bit earlier, when you know something, when you are really confident and you know something, you don't have to stutter over what it is you're talking about. You just, it just comes on out, right? Because you've done the work, you've done the research, you've done the backlogging, you've analyzed both sides, you've just totally ripped this entire subject apart, and you can tell that in somebody. Now, they may be entirely wrong in their premise or their argument or whatever it is, but you can tell at least the facts that they understand them to be, they know very, very well, okay? But then you have this other group of people that constantly go to these like protests, because I've been to a couple of these protests, that are these anti-Trump protests, which really, really weird, because when you go there and you ask people some of these questions, like, what are you doing here? What's this all about? What are you arguing over? They can't give you an articulated, definitive answer. You may find 1 in 100 in that crowd, and that's probably the person that organized the whole damn thing. It's really weird. It's like you're going to a protest, but you don't have any real understanding of what the hell it is you are there for. And this is not all protests, but this is many that I've gone to. And there's been about 3 or 4 in this area where I live that it's weird to me that you would go protest something that you know nothing about. Look, it is okay. And this is the one, if anybody comes across this video, look, I am one of those people that are trying to meet everyone that I come in contact with where they are in their life story. Okay? I've said this before. Your conditions, the world that you've been brought up in, the household that you've been raised in, the jobs that you've had, the locations you've visited, all shape the way you think and the way you operate in this world. Unless you yourself re-examine all of those things and know why you believe those things to be true or not to be true. Are they your thoughts, or are they something that the program that I was speaking about has kind of just inserted, and you've accepted it because that's what the collective says is true, so therefore you say it's true? But do you know it's true, is what I'm saying. I'm asking people to really start critically thinking about this, because we've lived in this era of stupidity, this era that we just relied on somebody else, if that's not our wheelhouse, to give us the true and so information. But the question we've run into, and the point of history that we're in right now, is that majority of the time, and I should say majority of the time, but many times, the things that you believe to be true turned out to be just complete and utter bullshit. Now, why is that? If this is news, or if these are supposedly reputable people with, that's what they do for a living, you should be held to a much higher account, saying, oh, it's not just some person giving their opinion. They're giving me the news, which is supposed to be this, unbiased approach to the world based upon the facts as we know them to be. But that's not what it's being disseminated as. And anybody who's ever done this for any length of time knows, or has been watching this for any length of time knows, that's not the world of the game that is being presented to us. Now, I'm asking for the 25% that's out there that thinks about this kind of stuff and has these kind of conversations in their family or amongst their friends. You know what I'm talking about. You know that when, like for me, small talk is one of those things that I participate in, but I would much rather have a deep conversation about what you think about certain things, because that's the spice of life. Everybody talk about the fucking weather. Oh, the weather's this fucking so stupid. But we all participate in it. If it's normal chit chat, you just want to be friendly, right? You know what I really want to say to some people? What shape do you think the Earth is, really? Or just something to just kind of like get a conversation going. But we're so mundane. We're so stuck in our rut. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I believe these things. I believe those things. Most of the time, you don't know what the hell you believe. And the reason I know this is because I am just like you. I used to be one of these people that knew everything about everything. And then I started to realize, whoa, when I finally ran into somebody that really did know what the hell they were talking about, and I was knocked on my ass. And then over 20 years ago, the 9/11 thing, that's the thing that kind of shook me up to realizing, oh, wait a minute, these people are lying to me. But I'm just so fascinated by how many people still watch mainstream news and don't analyze it and don't really dig deep to find out maybe if there's an alternative to what's being said there. Because if they are lying, and in many cases they don't call it lying, but they don't tell you the full truth, or they angle it in a way that makes it tell a certain narrative, well, if that's what they are doing, then they are not truth tellers. That's not their job. Their job is to sell you whatever it is their producers, director, or whoever is paying them is telling them to sell. And you are the product. You are the one that is either going to buy their bullshit or not. And that comes down to whether or not you want to continue to keep playing the programs as they currently are. Like I was saying, there's 25% of the world recognizes there's some shit going on here, and we're trying to figure out what it is. Many of them get labeled conspiracy theorists or off-the-chain weirdos or some, fanatic or whatever word you want, a quack. There's so many different language that they try to put on people. But these are just people that are questioning or asking questions about the official story or about the narrative that has been told to us. When we stop asking questions, you are giving this authority, this overwhelming control over who you are. And I think, isn't the goal to be free? I mean, truly free from anyone controlling you, but yet we accept every damn thing for the way that it is. Okay? I'm not saying that you don't have to have justice or protection or like maybe something like because there are crazy people out there. There are people that just want to hurt and harm other people. But as a society or just as a group of humane people, I think we could devise a way on how to deal with that. And maybe we have to deal with it in our own way. But bottom line, we could work that out. But it's just weird the way that we kind of do things and the way that most people kind of accept things. They accept the system for the way that it is only because they've been told, look, this is the best it's ever been. Well, how do we know? Because we got these history books that say this is the best system. And the way that they were doing it, well, that was primitive. And those guys were back then, they were morons, right? It wasn't until the colleges where we started really learning it all up. And it's like, that's when we got really, really smart. It's funny. It's funny because history doesn't tell me that story. I've talked about this in other videos about, the historical narrative that we have been told is complete and utter bullshit. And I'm not saying that because I believe. No, I know it's bullshit, okay? Because there are too many things still erect on this planet, all over this place, that we didn't build. We didn't build them. We found them. We found them. When you hear the word found, it means we found that motherfucker. We found that building. We didn't build it. And if you ask most architects and constructional engineers today about the way that these buildings, the Sistine Chapel, some of the buildings here in the United States, all around the world, they were said they were constructed in the 1800s, and they were done in like a year and a half. You ask any architect today with modern tools that could be done, and they will tell you, crazy. So if that's the case, then that means history is a lie. They're not telling us something, but why are they not telling us something? Did you ever think about that? See, I used to play this fun game with a group of friends that I had just out of high school called the what if game. And we would start the question like, what if aliens were real or something like that? And the other person would go, well, what if that this did? And what if that, led to that? And what if that led to that? It's a fun game. You should try it sometime because it maybe gets you into the psyche of what your other friends are kind of thinking about. Because that's where the juice and the spice of life really exists. All of this, fundamental nonsense that they force us to play is just creating divisions within this world that really do not exist. They are created because they have control of the mind. And that's what these owners of this world figured out a long time ago, but several hundred years ago. That the one way to control people is not through money or power or resources, stuff like that. You have to control them here. You have to make them think that there's something going to happen or bad is going to happen, or you've got to trick them into believing that they need to self-police themselves, or they need to control themselves, or that there are consequences. You have to trick them into believing that they don't have as much power as they think they do. There's a conditioning system. I mean, look, I know nobody wants to hear this, but the Department of Education sucked. But the fact of the matter is the school system, for the way that it is done in the United States especially, I don't know how it works around the world, but in the United States, it sucks. They are teaching children basically to be obedient workers, low-grade clerical workers, to understand the basics of whatever nonsense they are trying pushing today. But ultimately, it's not honing in on the person that you're dealing with, skills, what's going to make them blossom, bloom, and thrive in the world that we have today. What jobs could they be doing? What jobs are going to be created? It's like we're not prepping them on how to deal with the reality in front of them. No, we're teaching them nonsense. I mean, some of the stuff is understandable, like the basic understanding of reading and writing and learning how to write in cursive and phonics and basically on how to speak properly, manners, cooking. Those things I think are very fundamental in schools, but it's weird. The stuff that we force on them is shit that's based in, is bullshit, first off, or it's a conditioning system based on some kind of psychological operation that's been going on for many, many decades. And I know I'm going to get people looking at me, oh, he's the tinfoil hat wearing guy. No. Okay? I just gave you an example just a few moments ago about these buildings that are around here. And you can go them. They're in a city near you. If you live in any major city around the United States, you can go down there. San Francisco, New York, Buffalo. I mean, I could just go all New Orleans. There are these buildings. They're made out of solid granite. They're usually massive. They usually have wonderful architecture, very, very ingrained, very ornate in detail. They are, again, these are solid pieces. They were erected before the power tool, when only horse and wagon were available. And the architects, or whatever it is, never went to any architect school, but yet they never made a mistake. They were always perfect, and these buildings lasted the test of time. That's the other issue. They still erect today. The ones that are still erect, not the ones that they blew up and knocked down because it wouldn't fit into their narrative. But bottom line, these buildings are still up there today. Okay, and if you go back behind the backstory of these buildings, and you look at when they were assembled, and how they were assembled, and how long it took them, you're going to go, bullshit, because it's absolute insane. And yet, we've just accepted it. We just accepted it. And look, that's just one example in which education has really rotted our mind, because now we don't know where we came from. So now we're having the questions of, okay, what was really here? All right? Let's not talk about dinosaurs. What was just here in the more immediate? What are these buildings? We didn't build them. Okay, so who did? And what is the history behind that? Why is there like this culture that nobody talks about or nobody knows about? Right? Is there something more? Are they not telling us about what the real map looks like? I mean, we've accepted the map, but have you actually explored all over the world? No, you haven't. We've accepted this thing that they've given you, a program, a setup. To do what? What is it supposed to do? Is it supposed to make you smarter? Is it supposed to make you smaller? Is it supposed to make you think a little differently? What is it supposed to do? See, that's the kind of shit that I sit around and think about all the time. Well, so many other people are sitting watching football on Sunday. And look, again, this is not a hit on anybody. It really isn't. Okay? But you're the ones calling me the weirdo. But I'm the one thinking all the time about why have we accepted this. It could be better if we all just started trusting each other again and start talking to each other again and stop falling for this programming garbage that, again, you have a choice in life. This is your life, right? And sometimes I think a soul's journey is going to choose it. Like for the longest time, I played a game of trying to change the way people see things. Not necessarily changing their mind, but changing maybe the way that they view something because they never looked through it through that lens in particular. And I started to, especially people that I care about and people close to me or people that I know, intermediately, because I want them to be able to get the best out of the life that they have, and with the knowledge that they've been taught or been forced to know and believe is true is only harming them. It's keeping them down. It's keeping them suppressed. It's keeping them feeling small and useless and meaningless. And man, imagine if the stories are true. Imagine if, remember I said we play the what if game. What if all of what's in that Bible is true? What if it's not necessarily accurate as they say, because many books are still missing, because maybe what if the Vatican is hiding more books that maybe tells the whole story, because it just seems like it's goes all over the place, like what was Jesus doing from 13 to 33? It's like he just vanished like a fart in the wind, right? But maybe there's more going on. Maybe there's a whole lot more. And they just give little bits and breadcrumbs every once in a while, or give you just what you need, the program that you need to make you believe. Because again, religion is definitely a control mechanism. No doubt about it. If you've got millions of people around the world, you can use religion, governments, you can use all these authoritarians. You can use something that, look, is looking down on you. Or we don't know. But I can tell you for one thing, and I know I'm not trying to upset any Christians either. I'm literally just trying to say, look, these things have been well thought out. The real owners of this game that we have here have really thought this whole system out. The question is, we're getting to a point now with AI and with human connection that the lies that have been stacked up for the decades and decades and decades before we got here are starting not to make any sense. And people are starting to get angry now because, look, we came into this world, I said this before, we've came into this world knowing nothing. And the people before us are providing us with bullshit that is not making this better. They're lying to us about so many different things, about climate, about this, about that, and everybody. You can't even trust science so much today. I'm sorry, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, and there's so many others like him, continue to go out there. And look, Neil lost me a long time ago, but he really lost so many when he started going around the entire world telling other people, because he's from the science world, that you can be multi-genders or you can be whatever gender you want to be and blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, you just lost every bit of credibility you had. If that's the way you think, then we got to question everything you think. Something's not right. And it's just, how did we get all over the place in this world? It's the programs. It's these programs that we either decided to accept and we just put up with them because, what the hell, as long as I get my this and I get my that. And it's not really bothering me that much, It may bother those, but it doesn't bother me. And I'm one of those type of people that I can't be bothered, that I'm truly free. Even though you're not. I said the worst jail in the world is the one you cannot see. The one that you believe you're fully free from. But once you find out that there are pillars, there are gates that you can't go through, areas that you cannot see, secrets that you're not allowed to know, how free do you feel then? What if many of the conspiracies that are out there are not conspiracies? Many of those coincidences aren't really coincidences. They're actually what you think they are because, you are a smart human being. And, it's like, I remember when the whole, Miss Jeffrey Epstein thing happened, right? And they said that he was murdered. I laughed. But I was like, oh yeah, that's a freaking surprise, right? Of course, right? Of course he did. Of course there were no cops watching. Of course the video cameras went down. Of course there was somebody out back there that wasn't being monitored. Of course. Of course. It's just an accident. It's how these things are. I know how it works. But I just had to laugh. Because they really think you're that stupid. But you're not. And again, I think most people who want to argue over one side or another, most of the time you don't even know what the other side is arguing. I've listened to you. I'm one of those people that sit in the background. You know what my special gift is? Is watching you. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I love listening to people's conversations and listening how they interact with each other and listening to when one person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, but the other one does. And you can see this like kind of mini jujitsu in the wordplay, and it's kind of fun to watch sometimes. You should try it, especially at restaurants. It's really good sometimes, especially when people are talking about some interesting things, but I don't want to go there. Sound like a creep, Dave. Anyway, but no, point being is that you can learn a lot about the human nature, and you can learn a lot of that about people just by listening to them. But aside from all of this, the game, this big, huge game that you are not supposed to know about. You're not supposed to know about the players, and most of the time those players never reveal themselves because the whole idea is to get you to believe or blame, if like right now, a good example, if you're a Democrat, you're blaming Trump. He's the motherfucker. Yeah, Trump. And if it was Obama, you were blaming the Democrat. You're blaming the Democrat. If you're a Republican, you got to blame the Democrats. And that's how these games start to play. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat. You can't like them, and you can't like them, okay? Nobody's allowed to like each other, right? You're in one camp, you're in the other. Oh, you believe that there's only two genders, but you believe there's as many okay, those two camps can't talk to each other, right? But what's weird about this whole thing is that we can talk to each other. Who told you that you couldn't? And what makes you think that the other side hates you? Look, the other side, in most of the situations, doesn't even know you, okay? But how you talk and how you defend and how you smack and how you force stuff down people's throats and how you basically end a conversation before a conversation even begins is the most ridiculous thing that we ever could do. And it's all done on purpose because it's set up to make you think that both sides hates each other. The division must happen. And it's reinforced by the mainstream media. It's reinforced by these online vloggers or influencers. And it's constantly being portrayed in different movies and sex. That's what they do. The whole idea is to sensationalize something that isn't real in order to keep pushing it over the top to make people think that it is something of why you should matter, why it should take control of, why you should really be upset about all of this stuff when really none of it matters. It's all bullshit. It may have some bit of reality to it, but it's stuff that is designed to distract you from really what's going on and the stuff that truly matters. If we can't get out of this trance of stupidity, look, it's hard enough to engage in this world as an intelligent person. If you're stupid, it's so much more difficult because you're constantly battling over the same things over and over again. You're never learning from the mistake because you don't believe you're making any mistakes because you don't even know what you're talking about. And again, I think that's more dangerous as a person who believes or in their heart that they know the truth about something. Somebody interjects and they try to have a conversation with them and they refuse. They strike the person down. They never get at it, but they continue to keep forcing down the same nonsense. Look, the only way you'll ever know truly is to debate everything out. Look, I said when you know something, you could talk it out, boom, 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 and most people can't interject with it because you know it backwards and forwards. Anytime they try to question what it is, you have an answer for that question. And it's a neat jiu-jitsu game. But at the same time, when somebody's trying to pass bullshit, it's usually a stutter. It's an all over the place game. A lot of times they try to take you on a journey with them to try to divert you away from the original question that was being asked or I need you to answer this because we need to know where we're starting this conversation at. I need to know what you believe and what you know to be true and where that comes from so that we have a starting point. But most people, they can't even get there. Where does that come from? If you are an intelligent, sovereign being who truly makes your own decisions, where your own decisions are the ones that you've thought through because you looked at it, you understand what the consequences are, you understand what both sides of the argument are, you understand because it matters. Now, this doesn't make sense on everything. Like, I don't think you need to know, like in my case, what the NFL draft is. It's not going to affect my life. Things that directly affect your life, you should understand them. Because if not, it's like going up to bat with a blindfold on. You have no idea where that ball's coming from. There's no idea. You're just hoping that you're swinging at something and hoping that you get contact. But why don't you just up your advantage and take the damn blindfold off and actually be able to see what the hell it is you're supposed to be looking at? I don't understand where intelligence went, why we have just forfeited our ability to understand these issues, these complex issues sometimes, because we refuse to do the work. We refuse to put ourselves in a position of knowing. It only requires a little effort. And sometimes it only requires a conversation to get you on a path that's like, oh, whoa, oh, whoa, oh, whoa. Because once you get to that aha moment and you realize something that you've been told, especially by somebody that you trusted, was lying to you, and then you realize, oh, well, if that's a lie, oh, that's a lie, oh, and that's a lie. And before you, it sucks when that happens. there's no doubt that growing process, that discovery process, that the people that the groups that you threw yourself into, were not all on the same page, most of them. Many a times the group that you were in, you somehow got drafted in, but because you were friends with so many of those people, you just kind of looked over all of it. You got to know why you believe what you believe. You got to know what you're doing with those beliefs. Do you really know what's going on? Or are you stupid on these issues? And a stupid person is a person who's not willing to look at either side, or not looking to advance whatever it is that they're saying because they know it all. That's dangerous. Like some of these people that go to protests. And I just ask them a simple, what are you protesting? What in particular are you protesting? Oh, this person's a rapist and he's no, he's not, and he's not this. So what is it? Why are you here? And if you can't articulate that, it's like, what are you doing there? It's like me going to a protest line or a protest picket at the International Sewing Society saying, "Bulls, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. My ass shouldn't be there." Because it's just silly. But we are being either paid to do this, or we are just, I don't know anymore. Because like I said, this game that we are playing, it is getting us from every angle. From the moment we're born, from the moment we're adopted into this society, international society. Who are the players puppeteering all of these? Who are the ones that are controlling the education system? What your children are being forced to... Look, children before used to be taught in the home. It's the parents' experience that try to taught them. And yes, there would maybe be some history lessons or things but education was more personal, it was interpersonal, it was more close-knit. It's where you lived. The jobs there, because people didn't move very much. So it was all about what was going on there. America has been taught this idea that you could be whatever you want. You could be whatever you want. The American dream, baby. Everybody can be whatever they want to. And then they realize after they get out of college, none of the jobs that they wanted actually exist. Because you were told a lot of bullshit. It's a big scam in many situations. A lot of the colleges you wanted to get into, you couldn't get into them. Why couldn't you get into them? Well, because all of these people overseas are paying 3 times the amount of tuition to have their student brought to that school. So you never get into the damn school. It's just, the whole thing was stacked against you, and you didn't know it. These programs that you just kind of went along with and said, all right, I guess it's just, shucks me. I didn't get in, my fault, I'm not smart enough. Those other guys must have done much better than me. No. A lot of times, the system has always been gamed against you. And the only way you're ever going to know that is by looking around the curve. Stop eating the friggin' pills, the red pills, the blue pills, whatever pills. Like somebody calls it black pilled. I don't even know if that is a term or not. I'm not into all the lingo, but bottom line, if we don't start recognizing this really uncomfortable game that's getting more uncomfortable every moment we allow crazy to take reign and control us. We have to start unraveling and unwinding all of the bullshit that we've packed into this thing. Start really asking ourselves how we got here. Okay, so this guy Dave, he told me there's a game being played again. What's the game called? Oh, well, it's all based on you. See, the game is not what you think it is. It's not out here. It's in here. It's a control of what's going on in here. Okay? All the things you think you know to be true may not be true. And if that's the case, because of all the things that you know to be true, the assumptions that you made because of those truths, the way you interject with life because of the truths that you believe, would have shaped the reality that you have, because it would make you navigate through this place in a particular way. But what if those things changed in there. And you knew more about what's really going on here because you had the actual truth in here so that you could navigate through here better. Well, your whole life would be different because you have the know of really what this place is all about. But we don't. You have people telling you every single day who you are, where you are, the social class you belong to, the party you belong to, whether you're for this or for that, why you should be for this or for that. It's constant. These programs are constantly being tossed on you. And the only people out there are the ones that have been pulled away from this, from basically getting their ass handed to them a long time ago or getting smacked in the face so hard that they couldn't avoid it. But then there are others that just, okay, it's whatever. It's whatever. As long as football's on Sunday and I can get my beer, I'm cool. You know, and that's, again, I'm not downing anybody, but if that is what life is supposed to be, and we're not willing to ask any of these big questions, well, then the game itself is going to play out the way it is right now, and you're not going to like it because they're going to take it where they want to. See, the thought leaders of today, the ones thinking right now, the ones that are talking about the power each one of us has to impact the world that we're living in, because we become the change we want to see. We become. When we change, the world changes. And that's we become the change we want to see. The world tomorrow could be entirely different. Just imagine if you discovered, remember, we go back to the what if game. What if Nikola Tesla, the real Nikola Tesla, the one that died penniless and brokeless in a hotel in New York. I think it was New York. But what that man was able to patent, and when you go back to some of the old etchings and markings of some of the things that they had made public, the stuff that the CIA was looking at, the stuff that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if I can't remember if this is true, but I believe President Trump's uncle apparently got access to some of this stuff. Maybe he knows some stuff. Maybe President Trump knows something. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just riffing here. But Nikola Tesla, what if Nikola Tesla did make or did rediscover or be able to rebuild what the ancients were able to do with free energy? You know, I know nobody wants to hear this, but there's this weird thing that goes on. It's interesting. I always find it interesting when a country or a group bans, means you're not allowed to have this stuff no matter what. Like they ban a specific element or material. You're not allowed to possess it unless you're a specific group or part of a science community or something. Like you're not allowed to have this stuff, right? I find it interesting when they do that to specific things because then I want to go, why? Why? What's so special about that? Oh, well, it'll kill you. Oh, that will kill you. Well, yeah, a lot of things will kill you if you inject them into your body. But mercury is a very interesting thing. It's very, very interesting. It has these really interesting electrical properties to it, especially if you can get it to spin. And I don't want to really go into too much of this stuff, but it's like, what if Tesla was able to make this? And what if, because he was able to make this, the guys of that time said, you know, no, because if we give free energy to these people, they ain't going to need us. They'll just make a device and go someplace and live off the fat of the land someplace else. Exactly. Now imagine if you had the knowledge that that existed and had the ability to do that. Why would you stay right here? If you had an energy device where you could just drop it, go anywhere, take all the tools and you could just make whatever you want, why would you stay here? What if you had the ability to build like the ancients did, or the whatever the prior civilization that lived here before us, that built like the Sistine Chapel and saw these other damn things before power tools, before horse and wagon, you know, before all of that, right? I wonder. I often wonder. But how are we able to do that? Could we do that today? I don't think we could. I don't think we could. And like I said at the top of this, if that's a lie, and some of these other things that they continue to keep teaching us are also lies, then how much do we really know? Like I said, the battle is here. That's where the control is. That's what these owners who own this game and play this game, they know that. And you're playing it. You're participating in it. You're pissed off. You hate the fact that this is not what you wanted your life to turn out to be. Well, you're damn right. I'm right there with you. Okay? And there's so many other people out there right there. But it never changes until we do. We all have to recognize, okay? Like I was saying through all this entire video, there's so much about this place that we're not asking questions about. There's so much of us that either are just playing the programs, the 70+% that are just going along, get along, don't upset the apple cart, just let's go, just I want to get paid. Yes, I would like to have a better job, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. I got to take care of this, got to take care of that. You're so busy with all these freaking problems, these programs, these issues that have been set up to you on purpose to keep you unbalanced, because if you are unbalanced and constantly in a state of this, how are you supposed to take on and fight other things? How are you supposed to fight what really is enslaving you? That's the game. They got us all fighting against each other. They got us all stressed out, burnt out, worn out, strung out, tossed out, you name it. And they're all winning. The game just continues to keep playing, regardless of whether or not you or I are in it. But we could change it tomorrow. We really could. And it starts with the thinkers, the people that really are asking those questions, really want to know what the truth is, really want to give the truth to the world, because our lives become better when we share everything. This world is so full of abundance, and yet everybody's trying to control and own it all. I don't want it all. Do you want it all? I don't want it all. I just want a little bit of something. I want to be able to see the world. I want to be able to see what you build. I want to see what everybody else's talents are. I want to see cultures, what culture really is. We've destroyed all that. We put it into money and power and this greasy thing of control and this seductiveness of, it's just, ugh. You are only as smart, as tough, as brave, and as disconnected as you are from how much you interact, abide, and play along with the programs that have been inserted into your life from the moment you were born. And I'm not saying that metaphorically, I'm saying that literally. You don't see them as that. Because again, you never really questioned it. Or maybe you have, but you never really dug deep. I'm asking everybody. You want to unplug from the matrix? You want to then dig deep into some of these rabbit holes. Find something of your interest that you always really wanted to know, and find out really if there's any historical truth to it. Or some of the conspiracies that people are talking about, you know. What really did happen? Why is there so much secrecy behind all of this? What gives them the right to control that secrecy? Who is they? When there's all of us, yet we're all fighting against each other. All of us fighting against each other. And we're the ones suffering. We do all the work, we're the ones suffering. It's just insane. Because you want your camp to be right, and this person wants their camp to be right. I just want everybody to gain from this. I want everybody to benefit. I want everybody to have what's theirs. There's more than enough abundance on this world, and a small percentage of everybody control it. And we just go, okay. Why? Because he's got this paperwork here that says they own it. Like all those buildings that are still erect, right? If you ever look, guess who owns most of them? Banks, government buildings, religious institutions. There may be some other ones down the road, but most of the time it's some authority or some government or some entity that owns those buildings, right? Isn't that interesting? Of course it is. Truth is so much more interesting if you're really willing to dig below the surface. Because otherwise, you're going to just get stuck playing the game and presentational drama that they have put out in front of you. And if you choose to continue to keep doing that, like I said, it's your life, but it only will start to get more interesting Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit once you find out that, like I said, all the people that you trusted or the things you believe to be true weren't, because now you're seeing the world through a different focus. But it gets better. When you have more truth on your side, it's easier to understand, relate, and talk about things. You become so fascinated by it. It just becomes part of who you are. There's nothing better than coming to a new truth. It's like finding a golden nugget in the ground. I said knowledge is so much more powerful. I would like to be in the 95 percentile of intelligence more than be in the 95 percentile of wealth. Do you know that? Because with intelligence, I would be able to navigate this place much better than a person who's got all the wealth in the world. Because if you don't, money doesn't mean anything. It's a shadowy figuring thing. It's something that's been created by somebody. It's not real. Information is real. Truth is real. Because if you have truth, you can use it. We've got to become better. We got to stop falling for these tricks. We got to stop playing the game as they set it up. This doesn't mean take to the streets. No. The discourse starts. Everybody gets involved with it. Again, it's not hard to start a movement, especially if everybody's on board with something. It's just a matter of having the right people, because a lot of times these things get shot down and get infiltrated because they know if this thing ever takes off, it destroys a lot of what it is that they have. This, I said, I want people to do this as homework. Just think about all of the things that you had learned throughout school, if you're in your 50s, 60s, that's a long while ago. But just think about it. And then talk to your children if you have any and see what they were taught and see what they remember about it. And you'll find a lot of similarities, but you'll find like these etching differences over the course of time. Some information becomes more specific, but a lot of it gets very, very dulled out. They don't want you to remember a lot of real past or more modern past, because again, how they want the story to go will determine exactly what information they present, how they present it. They need all of these power structures in place in order to keep these programs going, in order to keep everybody on the same page, in order to keep the world buying their same bullshit over and over and over again. I'm just saying, pump the brakes. Stop watching the trance and the hypnotist. You know what to do. You can smell bullshit. You recognize stupidity in the moment, don't you? Use your agency. Use what you know. And start asking questions about it. When you ask questions, you learn. And answer them, ask them honestly. I don't know what you mean by this. What does that mean? And how do you know that specifically? How do you know that? You ask the person that. And if, they know what they're talking about, they should be able to quote you something or tell you this is how I discovered it, blah, blah, blah. They have a story to go along with it, right? But when they start to jump all over the place, when they start to kind of take you on a dance in the other direction, you start to notice. And then you start to get good at recognizing nonsense before it even hits your brain. But then you have to start asking those questions, like I said before. It's like, sit at home. Start asking all of the things you know about science, all the things you know. How do you know? Do you really know, or is that just what you believe? Somebody told you this, and the consensus also believes it, so it must be true. So my question is, if you don't find it interesting, if you don't want to know about it, then don't look at it. I'm not asking everybody to go kill themselves, but this is how you really start to discover the world around you. Because you will be utterly shocked at how many things you believe to be true just ain't. And I'll leave it with that. There is a game. It's the greatest game. It's the game you and I all got suckered into. How long ago, who knows? But this game, the one that they have out now, with all of the information that we have available, there's no reason for anybody to stay ignorant. It's all available to you if you're willing to look, while it's still available. But the evidence is right in front of you if you're willing to look. It's in a city near you. The history is bullshit. So if the history is bullshit, why are they taking that bullshit? Why don't they want us to know where we came from? And I told you, because your history is your identity. If you can't remember what your history is, you have no idea who you are, where you came from, what you do, how you got here, everything that was left for you. your inheritance, your passing down through the generations. You don't know. Now you're adopting whatever the new installation has told you what the truth is. And I think that's where we're at today. As a matter of fact, I know that's where we're at today. And that's why everybody's fighting with each other, because everybody thinks they know, but most people don't. Look, I had to do this myself. I still don't say I know everything. I know I don't know everything. But about certain things, I'm pretty damn good on them now, because I took the time. I wouldn't be recording this video if I didn't think it was important that people just pump the brakes on a lot of the things that they fight for and just start re-examining. Look, obviously you're compassionate about it. You should know everything. Forward, not just go to a protest because you hate something. And if you hate something, that's because you're an unloved person. Unloved people hate. You can dislike or disagree with people, but this hate in this country has gotten way off the chain. We have lost, and you're being controlled. You don't even realize, again, this is another program that is forcing you down this way. Most of these people, in hindsight, go, oh, it's kind of stupid. Yeah, it was kind of stupid, but you did it. I'm trying to get people to stop, pump the brakes. A lot of this stuff is being forced and controlled on you, and you don't even know why. Your feeds and your phones and everything like that, when you go to your TikToks, they know what you like. They know what to do to stimulate you. They know what to do to piss you off. Stop playing their game. Stop playing the game. All right, my friends. I'll talk with you soon. Hopefully, this one does help, does make some sense. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.